Anchorman almost looked completely different. Despite being one of the biggest comedies of the 2000s, Hollywood didn't believe in it. In fact, the movie almost never got made. And the version we saw was nothing like the original script.
So when Will Ferrell was on the Bill Simmons podcast, he said that the original script for Anchorman was actually a survival story where a plane full of newsmen clips another plane that's just full of monkeys and Chinese throwing stars. And then basically you guys had to survive on this mountain while orangutans take you guys out one by one.
That's right. Newsmen versus apes. It was already nixed before it got greenlit at the studio. Somewhere pretty early on, they realized that's impossible to film. All these newsmen were flying over to some news convention or something, and they're all smoking so many cigarettes that the whole cabin filled up with smoke, and it crashes on an island inhabited by apes, and then it just turns into a survival tale of newsmen versus apes.
That version doesn't sound anywhere near as good as what we got, and probably why it was damn near impossible to actually get this movie made.
At the time, we got rejected. I think we got rejected 20 different times from various studios and financiers and everything like that.
Blows my mind.
Fascinating.
Like no one could kind of wrap their head around an ensemble comedy that took place in a newsroom. They kept hearing the news part.
So after they brought Judd Apatow on, they went ahead with several different rewrites, but even then, studio after studio said no. It felt like the movie was never going to actually get made. But then at the 11th hour, thanks to a movie from the prior year, Steven Spielberg, of all people, came in and saved this movie.
There were moments where people didn't know if they could be the lead. Can Will Ferrell be the lead? And then Will was in Old School. It was hysterical. But DreamWorks had just put us in Turnaround, which means they weren't going to make it. And then one day in a meeting, Steven Spielberg said, Old School's a big hit. What else do we have with Will Ferrell? We should do something else with him. And they're like, well, we just put it in Turnaround. And he's like, well, get it back. And so he was the reason why Adam and Will were allowed to make Anchorman.
It's pretty funny in hindsight to think that Hollywood was hesitant and just had no idea whether or not Will could carry a comedy. But that was the reality of the situation. Good for him, though, because this movie was personal for him.
Take any inspiration from people that you watch and famous newscasters?
I was like a weird news junkie as a little kid. Yeah, so I would watch all the local guys.
Outside of Will, all the other leads had to audition. This was even true for Will and Adam's good friend David Koechner, who played Champ.
I'd known Adam since 91, Adam McKay, who wrote and directed it, and I met Will in 95. I think that got shot in 2003, but I had to audition for the picture. But I think my understanding of their tone and what they were looking for probably helped me.
And he too used real-life inspiration to craft the character.
So all my life I've seen my local sports anchors all over. I've lived, in a bunch of different cities. So those would help inform my choices.
Despite that, David views Champ as one of the most difficult characters he's ever had to portray.
It takes a lot of chemicals to get to Oblivious, because, if you're talking about Champ...
Yeah,
all right,
Champ kind on Anchorman.
But he's more complex than you might think. So you've got a guy who's a misogynist, he's a racist, he's a xenophobe, he's a jingoist, he's self-loathing, he's a closeted gay man. So that's pretty complex character.
Yes.
Next up on the audition docket was Paul Rudd. A uniquely formed pen-pal relationship likely helped him land the role.
One time I was at a dinner and I was talking about fake names and how it's so difficult to come up with a perfect, funny fake name. And I said a great example is Gurn Blanston. And someone at the dinner said, Gurn Blanston, oh, that explains Judd Apatow's email address. I went home and emailed Judd. I'd never met him. And I said, hey, man, nice reference on your email address. He emailed me back and said, oh, I'm glad you've emailed me. It's nice to connect with you. Now I know who to hit up if I ever need tickets to a new Neil LaBute play. We became kind of pen pals. And it wasn't until Anchorman that I actually met him in person.
Wow, that's crazy.
Wow. And when I went into audition, he was there, and it was a little bit like, wow, I can't believe, there you are. I can touch you.
At this point, he had done Clueless and Wet Hot American Summer, but he was still a ways away from becoming the movie star that he is today. He fully understood the stakes and unique opportunity of this role.
It was a while before I was cast in it. I think I had a few months, and I was just on the phone every few days with my agents going, have you heard anything? Have you heard anything? which is not normally the way that I am.
Lastly, there was Steve Carell, who plays debatably the most memorable role of the ensemble cast. I always love watching audition tapes of people before they were stars, and his audition for Anchorman didn't disappoint.
I really enjoy a nice pair of slacks. Years later, a doctor will tell me that I have an IQ of 48, and I'm what some people call mentally retarded.
But Steve easily could have never been in this movie. In fact, if the studio got their wish, he wouldn't have been.
Their suggestion was to get rid of the Brick character, because he doesn't make any sense. So
that was the studio notes?
That was the studio note. And we said, we kind of have a hunch this character will work.
But as we've seen, studios rarely know better than the creatives. Thankfully, McKay, Ferrell, and Apatow didn't back down, because they assembled one hell of a cast. But the risk-taking didn't stop there, because Adam and Will took every chance imaginable on this production, understanding there could be severe consequences.
Adam and I wanted to create this film where we got to indulge every comedy idea we ever had and follow it all the way through without someone telling us, no, that scene's too long. No one would ever do that. That doesn't make sense. I think when people saw that film, they're like, this feels like someone gave you the keys to a car and you're 5 years old and you don't know how to drive. No one wanted to make it. No one understood why this would be funny. We just felt like we were playing with the house's money, and let's just make the craziest film we can, because we may never be allowed to make another movie ever again.
This production was quite magical though, because in addition to it being so personal for Will, it was also the biggest opportunity to date for almost everyone involved, and incredibly surreal for Paul Rudd.
I was hoping to just not embarrass myself in front of like those kind of powerhouses, you know what I mean? A lot of people hadn't seen Steve Carell before that, or they hadn't seen Dave Koechner. They'd seen Will. I knew exactly who those guys were. Crazy, crazy funny.
But this feeling wasn't unique to him, as there was a shocking amount of imposter syndrome on this set, especially when they first started filming.
I think the first week was short, like we'd start on a Wednesday or something like that. And so we'd shot Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, then we had the weekend off. And myself, Paul Rudd, and Steve Carell had all gone home and had the same conversations with our wives, which was, I'm not keeping up. Oh my gosh, those guys are all so funny. So that was interesting, how we all felt like the other ones were terrific. That never ended.
It was abundantly clear to everyone just how much talent there was, which led to going off script throughout the movie.
I had experience with improvisation, but never on a big studio movie. I mean, I was pleasantly surprised when we started shooting, and then Will might just go off in some direction and I'm not prepared for, or McKay would be behind the monitor yelling out lines.
David Koechner credits this level of improvisation for why the movie ended up being as funny as it was.
When you're doing a scene, you know what the words are. All right, now you're still supposed to be actively listening and engaged, correct? But if you don't know what someone's going to say, you really have to listen, because now we're improvising. So it really adds another level of chemistry, electricity to the scene, I think.
All of this ad-libbing definitely made the movie a lot funnier, but it also created several of the most memorable moments of the movie from scratch.
How did that scene come up? Afternoon Delight. What's the
Okay, so the story was, it was never in the scene. Because Steve Carell and I were sitting there and we were just talking, and that song came up. It had been playing earlier in the day. And the idea was, we should learn that song in 4-part harmony, because when this movie comes out and we ever have to, go on Conan or do some show or something, we could sing it. A week later, we were doing that scene, and Adam says, you guys should do Afternoon Delight in this scene. I'm like, what? We were only going to do it for press. He's like, no, it would work. We sang it in the scene.
Because I was literally trying to tell the director in that moment, like, why did you give me a carton of milk as we're shooting in LA on like a 98-degree day? And I literally was like, milk was a bad choice.
Milk was a bad choice.
It definitely came with a unique added pressure, though.
There are so many times in Anchorman and scenes that I have such clear memories of laughing. I didn't expect Will when he said,
I'm proud of you fellas. You all kept your head on a swivel, and that's what you gotta do when you find yourself in a vicious cockfight.
That's not in the script or anything. I was like, took me by surprise. You don't want to laugh when you're in someone's take, because you don't want to make something unusable. And if it's really funny and then somebody laughs and you can't use it, it's really annoying. And so there's always a pressure not to laugh.
David Koechner ran into some serious issues as well. He said when he knew the camera wasn't on him, he'd often use his hat as a shield to hide his laughter, but it's not as simple when you know you're on camera.
There are several times I got too. I had an even bigger hat, and thank God. Now there's one time I remember specifically because if you're on a wide shot, it's really hard to hide. You just dip that hat. Now I'm hiding it. There was once when I'm sitting on the couch with Steve Carell. Ron Burgundy yells at Brick, which you would never do. He's the most innocent of them all. Will goes, "Shut up, Brick, just shut up." And it was so funny that Ron would go after the one thing we all protect. Now, I know I can't laugh because I'm in this two-shot, and I swear to you, I had to think about a tough situation my kids had been in just so I'm not even gonna lose it.
The same can be said for Paul Rudd.
Because there is kind of so much improvisation. And then I said, oh yeah, well, 60% of the time, it works every time. And I thought like, oh, that will make him laugh. And he didn't even smile, and he just said, that doesn't make any sense.
That doesn't.
And then I lost it.
That doesn't make any sense.
It's really the one moment of clarity that either one of us has in that scene.
In addition to the killer ensemble cast and never-ending improv, they even filmed a brawl scene full of cameos, such as Ben Stiller and Luke Wilson. And I can't help but notice how cool it was that Luke, Will, and Vince Vaughn got to share this scene after doing Old School the prior year. Will viewed this scene as a unique challenge for the production, though.
Something like 30 to 35 different setups, a stunt unit working at the same time as the main film unit in downtown LA in the middle of July, and I think it was 100 degrees that day.
It's so damn hot.
And we only had the one day to complete all that. And it's probably a scene that should have taken 3 days to shoot. So silly, so absurdist. I think it is really one of the touchstone moments that defines the tone of Anchorman.
It's funny listening back to that, how he says that 30 to 35 setups was insane for the day, whereas the picture that I'm currently directing, we're averaging about 40 to 45 setups a day. That's average, not an outlier. Big budget pictures are definitely spoiled. As much fun as they were having on set, it wasn't without some awkwardness.
There was one time where I ran into an elevator and I was kind of sweaty. The full mustache and the mutton chops, my hair was humid, so it was looking really curly. I was also wearing a t-shirt that said mustache rides 25 cents. There was an elderly couple in the elevator. It took me a second to realize that they were really creeped out by the combination.
Sure, yeah.
And I realized it halfway through, so I just kind of sat and stared at them.
But probably the single most surprising fact about the entire production process of Anchorman is that they actually filmed an entire B-plot that got cut entirely in the editing room.
There was another storyline that there was this kind of rebel group that abducts Ron, and we have to go get him back, and it was all part of the original film, but I never saw it when it was all kind of edited together. It now does exist, and you can see it in another version called "Wake Up, Ron Burgundy." It is out there, but
he goes blind, right?
Yeah, they took it and made another movie out of it. But they kind of wound up scrapping that, and then we did some stuff at the end with the bears. All that stuff with the bears came up with a new ending.
As they got to the end of the production, though, Koechner knew they had something really special on their hands, even if he didn't want to say it too loud.
I didn't know how great it was going to be until about, I don't know, 3/4 of the way shooting the movie. We were all kind of not wanting to talk about it because it was so good. We felt it was so good. It's like watching a no-hitter. You don't really want to bring it up, but you're like, this is uncommon, right?
Those that got ready for release, Rudd didn't have quite the same unwavering confidence.
I knew that it was funny to us. Like I remember thinking that even when I read the script, I thought, oh my God, this is the funniest thing ever. I knew when we were filming things, certain things were hilarious. Now, how it all plays together, how it's going to work out in the finished product, how it'll get edited, you never really know.
It definitely landed a lot better than you'd expect, especially for something so experimental. Getting modestly positive reviews from critics, with Roger Ebert even giving a 3 out of 4, saying, most of the time Anchorman works, and a lot of the time, it's very funny. And audiences really ate it up, giving it an 86% on Rotten Tomatoes and 7.1 on IMDb. As far as I go, it's definitely a solid comedy, but it's not my favorite. In fact, I don't even think I'd put it in my top 30, but at the same time, I'm definitely a lot more into grounded comedy. It has an undeniably strong cast though, and I definitely still find myself laughing at several scenes.
All right, everyone relax. She's not going to take anyone's airtime.
I read somewhere that their periods attract bears. The bears can smell the menstruation.
Well, that's just great. You hear that, Ed? Bears. Now you're putting the whole station in jeopardy.
Veronica Corningstone and I had sex, and now we are in love!
Did I say that loud? Yeah, you pretty much yelled it.
Even if it wasn't a blockbuster, $90 million at the box office off of a $26 million budget is nothing to scoff at, though David Koechner feels like they got done dirty with the release.
Late August movie, kind of a dumping ground at the time. The marketing for it was confusing. Many people that saw it didn't quite get it, but you know, it's a satire.
He also blames this for why it took so long to get a sequel.
It was only after people started watching on DVD and reruns at home that it became this phenomenon. And as Adam and Will had said, you started seeing people wearing costumes on Halloween 6 years after the movie came out. It's like, okay, something's really going on there. And you know, only 6 years later, did you see catchphrases on T-shirts, "Milk was a bad choice," or "I love lamp," stuff like that.
But it ended up doing okay on DVD as well, and that doesn't include all of the reruns on cable, which it felt like this movie was on TV every single day when I was growing up. The release of this movie was a success, no doubt, but the after effects of this movie were industry changing. For starters, it really put Steve Carell on the map, and he views it as the single most important film of his career.
Honestly, being in this was probably the biggest turning point in my career of anything.
And
being cast in this movie.
Anchorman 1.
Yes, because from this I met Judd Apatow, and we then worked together on 40-Year-Old Virgin. I mean, it led to so many other things, so I have Will and Adam, all of these guys to thank.
It no doubt helped him land the lead role in The Office, even if Paul Rudd tried to talk him out of it.
Didn't he tell you not to audition for the Office or something? Is that...
Did he? I told him.
You told him not to?
Yeah.
Whoa.
I know, we were filming Anchorman. He said, they're doing The Office. They were showing it on BBC, the Ricky Gervais one, which was so great. And I heard they're just going to do those for American. I'm like, oh, you don't want to do that? That's such a great show. Clearly, I was the idiot in that scenario because he knew, obviously, a lot more than I did.
And he impressed Judd Apatow on the set so much that it directly led to the 40-Year-Old Virgin.
Well, we were shooting Anchorman, and Steve was just so funny that I asked him if he had any ideas that he could star in. And he said, well, I've always wanted to play a 40-year-old virgin. We pitched it around, and we tried to figure out, well, how would you do this movie? And, before this, I did a TV show called Freaks and Geeks, and I thought, well, I guess this is like, what if one of the geeks never had sex and it's 20 years later and what's he gonna do? And it would still be really funny and sweet and you'd root for him.
Speaking of Apatow, this was arguably the most important movie of his career as well, as him and his guys had a ton of scripts backlogged that no one would touch, such as Superbad and Pineapple Express. But that would all change thanks to the success of Anchorman.
No one would make any of it.
Right.
And then finally, they made, Anchorman, and then the floodgates opened, and suddenly they were interested in all the things that we had all written.
Right.
But we just kept writing, even though no one would let us do anything.
Right.
We didn't stop writing the next one, which is kind of the lesson.
Paul Rudd, of course, started to get more big movies as well, including the aforementioned 40-Year-Old Virgin, Knocked Up, and Role Models.
Let me give you a little motto I live my life by. You gotta hit it and quit it. Nobody tells me what to do. I gotta go bang, bang, bang the drum.
What? That's not a motto. That's just you saying a bunch of things.
And he looks back on Anchorman with nothing but awe.
The first one was so kind of major for all of us. I mean, it was such an important part of our lives, I think, professionally and personally. I mean, it was a really great experience. I can't believe a studio is giving us money to make this movie because it is so different than anything else that's being made, and it seemed to be kind of so simpatico with my own kind of thought of what is funny, and I think we all felt that. And so when we were working on it, separate from thinking, will this be successful or not, I think we all felt, well, we think this is funny, and that was just such a thrill to work on something and have that kind of feeling.
And David Koechner still gets recognized from this movie to this day.
I want to ask you, when people come up to you on the street, yes, do they like start quoting Anchorman? And do you enjoy it, or is it?
Of course.
Okay.
Here's what I say.
Yeah.
Wouldn't it be worse if it didn't happen?
This also helped launch one of the most memorable comedy duos of all time between Will Ferrell and Adam McKay, which included Talladega Nights, Step Brothers, The Other Guys, and of course, the Anchorman sequel.
We just never thought about ever doing sequels. We were just always on to the next story, and we were more excited about that. Anchorman, though, was unique in that we made it 9 years ago. It was a you know, a modest hit. We felt good about it, felt like we had done a kind of a new style of comedy, and then it just sat on the shelf, and over the years just grew and grew and grew and grew in popularity. And we would all get together in passing and have the same comment that no matter what project we were working on, whatever we're talking about, the last 3 questions of the interview would be Anchorman related. Are you going to do a sequel? What was it like to work on? Da, da, da. And we'd always compare notes that this thing is so popular. And I think in the best possible way, it just kind of woke Adam and I up to the idea of revisiting these characters, and why not? It's the most fun movie any of us have done.
Which everyone was thrilled to do.
Honestly, wasn't for any of us about the money. We signed on. It was absolutely about just doing a second one. It was so much fun. You can't imagine how much fun it was to go to work every day and laugh until you cry every day for a couple of months. And then, frankly, we've been doing this world tour promoting it, and that has been as much fun as anything.
I know this is going to rub a lot of people the wrong way, but I actually liked the Anchorman sequel more, and I definitely thought it was significantly funnier.
We've been rocking that headboard every night. Am I right?
Oh, no, we don't have conversations like that over there.
I'm just saying I'm knocking those boots 24/7, my man.
For the longest time, it looked like Adam and Will would never work together again, thanks to a nasty breakup 7 years ago. But given comments by Adam McKay from 2 months ago, there actually might be some hope for a third Anchorman. When asked about getting back together, he said, quote, "I totally have been open to the idea. We always got along great. We were tremendous creative partners. If there's something that could really give comedy movies a boost right now, it'd be for the two of them to get back in business." By the way, my directorial debut is also a 2000-style comedy, and it's now on Tubi for free. And we're finally wrapping production on my 3rd directed feature in a few days, which means I will have a lot more time for YouTube. So thank you very much to all of you for bearing with me the past 5 weeks. I know I've probably come off as super low energy several times, probably because I have been. But maybe not today. I definitely have a lot more energy for whatever reason. But Anchorman was the first domino to fall in the Apatow takeover of the 2000s, with the second being the 40-Year-Old Virgin. And if you thought Anchorman had a tough journey, try getting your entire production shut down by the studio almost immediately after you started filming, like they did with the 40-Year-Old Virgin. But that was just the beginning of the craziness that ensued on set. And I take you on this wild journey here.